Inshallah, here we'll do worksheet for radical equations. Okay, there are two worksheets here that I really like. They're labeled part 1 and part 2. Okay, so we'll start, of course, with part 1. I'll do some sample questions. Obviously, I won't do all of them. So here's the first question in the worksheet. Square root of x equals 10. So here, when you're solving radical equations, the basic principle is first get the radical symbol isolated. All by itself, okay, on one side of an equation like this, and then the second thing, and you just square both sides, and then that's where you neutralize or get rid of the radical symbol. So in this case, it's a very simple question. The radical symbol is already isolated all by itself. All you have to do is square both sides like that, and then when you have square root of x squared there's just x, and 10 squared is 100. So the answer here is x is 100. Now there's some simple things that you got to know. For example, square root of x times square root of x, that's just x, right? Because we have square root of a times square root of b, that's the rule, and that's square root of ab. You can bring them under the same radical umbrella. So you're multiplying two radicals, you can bring the two radicands, that's what these are called, under the same umbrella radical, so to speak. Okay, so if you do that over here, you get x times x, that's x times x, and this is x squared, and square root of x squared is x. But this is what should go through your mind when you see this. But you can't be writing all of this. This you just got to know that square root of x times square root of x is x. If you multiply two squares that are the same, you get the same answer. Now, which also means this, okay? Square root of 3x times square root of 3x is what? Is 3x. Square root of x times y times square root of x times y is x times y. So in other words, when you multiply two squares that are the same, you just get rid of the square root, and that's the whole idea of solving these equations in this manner. Okay, so that's example number 1. Number 3 says this: square root of v minus 4 equals 3. In this case, again, the square root sign is isolated all by itself. Okay, what do I mean by isolated? I mean, it's not like this: v minus 4 plus 3, v minus 4 minus 3 equals 0. It's not like this, right? Because in this case, the square root symbol is not isolated. It tagged onto it is that negative 3. If the equation was given like this, the first thing you would do is remove the 3 from this side and take it to the other side, so to speak, and you have square root of v minus 4 equals 3. And then you would square both sides. So the first order of business is to isolate the square root symbol. Here it's already isolated. It's all by itself on one side of the equation. So what you do then is just square both sides like this. So when you do that, you get rid of the square root symbols. All you're left with is v minus 4, and on this side 3 squared is 9. In other words, again, just as I said, v minus 4 times v minus 4 is square root of v minus 4 times square root of v minus 4 is just v minus 4. So and that's the idea behind squaring both sides. And then you solve for v. You just add 4 to both sides like this, and then v is equal to 9 plus 4 is 13, last time I checked. Okay, that's number 3. And I'm going to move on here, and I'm going to do let's do number 7, okay? Number 7 says 2 equals square root of 4b. This is no different, except the square root symbol happens to be on this side. That's okay, we can handle that. But it's all by itself, it's already isolated. There's nothing tagged onto it, right? So, okay, then we just square both sides. Let's do that. So if you do that, then you get 4 equals, what do you get over here? Well, you get 4b, right? Because just like square root of x times square root of x give you x, right? Square root of 4b times square root of 4b is 4b. Okay? So that's what we get over here. And then you divide both sides by 4, right? And then you get b equals to 1. Okay? That's easy enough. Let's do number 9, inshallah. Alright. So number 9 says this. Negative 8 plus square root of 5a minus 5 equals negative 3. Okay? And as you can see, I'm kind of almost habitually used to writing this little hook at the end of the square root like that. And I don't usually do it just like this, because I just out of habit. Because in higher mathematics, where equations get complicated, it's very important to be very clear where the square root ends and the rest of the equation or expression begins. So I'm just, as a matter of habit, I just put it like this to tell everybody, okay, that's where the square root symbol ends, okay? Alright. Anyway, so now here, see, you just can't square both sides, because if you square both sides, I'll tell you what happens. Mess is what happens, so you don't want to do that just yet. What you want to do is you isolate this radical symbol, meaning that you have to get rid of this 8, because it's tagged onto the radical symbol. So how do you get rid of the 8? Well, just add 8 to the both sides, because it's negative 8. Okay? Then you get, that cancels. Then you get square root of 5a minus 5, okay, equals, okay, that's 5. Negative 3 plus 8 is 5. Now you can square both sides, see, because the radical symbol is all by itself. Now, when you square this, you get 5a minus 5, and here you get 5 squared is 25. Now, I'd like you to notice something, okay? When I'm squaring both sides, I'm doing this, right? And I'm doing this, and I'm putting those two, right? Now, if you notice, I'm doing that even to the 5 over here. In other words, there's a 5 over there, like this, okay? I'm not just writing a square over there like this. I'm putting this like that. What's the big deal, you say? Or it's not really a big deal, because it's for emphasis. Because it's not just going to be 5 in the future. It's going to be something like 2x minus 3, and then you're going to square the entire thing, okay? Like that. So it's for emphasis. Whatever is on that side has to be. If it's something simple as 5, then you're going to square that. If it's more complicated, you have to square the entire thing. It's for emphasis, right? Now here, okay, I didn't solve for a. I add 5 to both sides. 5a equals 30. And I divide both sides by 5. A equals 6. You should check these and, we'll go back and put it in the equation. And then make sure that you get that as a habit. Alright, so but I'm going to go on. I'll check some later. But for now, I'm going to go on in the interest of time. Inshallah. So now, let me do this example. Okay. Let me do another reasonably similar one. Okay. Let's look at this one. Square root of v plus 3 minus 1 equals 7. See, here's the same problem. The radical expression right here, it's not by itself. There's negative 1 tagged to it, so we have to get rid of this negative 1. So therefore, you add 1 to both sides. Okay, then you get square root of v plus 3 equals 8. Okay, now you can square both sides. See. Then you get v plus 3 equals 8 times 8 is 64, and you subtract 3 from both sides. And you get v equals 61. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to actually do number 14 here. Yeah, let's do number 14. Now 14 is slightly different. It's this: negative 12 equals negative 6 times square root of b plus 4. Okay, now what do you do now? See, there's negative 6 over here. Now this negative 6, this expression means negative 6 times the square root of b plus 4. Okay, that's what that means. 6 there. So what do? Do you square both sides? No. First you get rid of this, because you isolate this symbol all by itself, so you get rid of that. So how do you get rid of that? Well, you just take your eraser and go like this. No, you don't do that. You don't take your eraser like that. You divide both sides by what? By negative 6. You divide both sides by negative 6 like this. Okay, so that's gone. So 12, negative 12 divided by negative 6 is 2. Okay, be careful with the negative signs. So 2 equals square root of b plus 4. Now can you square both sides? Sure, you can square both sides now. So let's square both sides now. So here you get 4 equals, what do you get over here? Okay, b plus 4. Okay, and then you subtract 4 from both sides, and you get b equals 0. And that's the answer. Well, how come b equals 0? What's wrong with 0? It's a legitimate, honest-to-God number, right? Yes, it's a good number. 0. Alright. So that's that. Okay. Now I want to do number 17, because also slightly different. Now look at this. Square root of 3n equals the square root of 4n minus 1. Okay. Now you have square roots symbols on both sides. Now what do you do now? Yes? Yes, we panic. No, we don't panic. We can panic and then calm down. After we stop panicking, we say, well, same thing, see? You have radical symbols on both sides and you isolate them and then you square them. In this case, it's reasonably easy because they're both isolated. There's nothing tagged onto this like that or something like that. So here we can just square both sides like this. Square this side and square this side. So what happens when you square this? Well, you get 3n. What happens when you square that? Well, you get 4n minus 1. You got rid of the square roots. Okay, that's very good. So now we solve for n. Well, there are n's on both sides, so you bring them together to one side. You can subtract that over here. So you get 0 equals n minus 1. And then you can add 1 to both sides, like this. And then you get n is equal to 1. Okay? And that's the answer. Okay? So that's this. So when you have square roots on both sides, like this, you do it like that. Okay, number 19 this is another interesting one. Look at this one. Number 19 says x over 10 is equal to square root of 3x minus 58. Now my 58 went a little bit outside of this, so I'm going to go like this. Okay. Same thing here, now, because you have a big fraction over here. Get scared? Yes, we get scared. No, it's okay, we don't get scared. So we do the same thing. You square both sides of the equation. So when you square both sides, you're getting the idea now. Now you just square it, right? So you square both sides, you get x over 10 equals 3x minus 58. Okay, so what do we do now? Well, we solve for x, right? So you subtract x over 10 and subtract x over 10, like that. You can do that, but I wouldn't do that. Why? Because, I have an easier way. That's not wrong. You'd get the same answer after working hard with fractions. What I would do is I multiply the whole equation by 10, see? That's what I would do. Because that would get rid of that would get rid of all them fractions, okay? The whole equation, it means both sides, okay? This side and this side, both. So if you do that, see, you multiply this over here, okay? That gets rid of the 10 over there, right? So then you get x. And here you have to distribute it. You have to multiply everything. So you get 30x minus 580. Okay? Well, there's no more fractions. And then I subtract x from both sides. I get 0 here equals 29x minus 580. And I take 580 to both sides. Okay, I get 29x equals 580. Okay, and then I go 580 on the handy dandy calculator, divide by 29, I get 20. So x is equal to 20. You see this? So sometimes we have like lone fractions, like on the denominator, just multiply the whole equation by that, just get rid of the fraction, makes life easier. If you did this with fractions, you would, and if you're careful, you would get the right answer also, of course. Okay? Alright, so that's number 19, I believe. Okay? Now that's worksheet number 1. Okay. Now, if you look at radical equation worksheet part 2, it says. Okay, we'll continue in part 2, inshallah. I'll do some sample questions here. These are going to be a little bit more trickier. They're not that bad, you'll see, inshallah. Okay, now watch. We'll do question number 1. This question says this: square root of 110 minus n equals n. Okay? That's not too bad, you see. Rule number 1, isolate the radical. Is the radical already isolated? Yes, it is. It's all by itself, right? So now we can square this, both sides, correct? So now we square both sides like this. So what do we get when we square both sides? Well, here you get 110 minus n, and here you get n squared. Now we have to solve this, right? How am I going to solve this? Well, I don't know. Well, I'm going to bring everything to this side, okay? I'm going to add one n to this side. I'm going to bring all the n's together, okay? I get 110 equals n squared plus n. Now what do I do? Well, I'm going to bring this to this side, okay? So I get 0 equals n squared plus n minus 110. Okay, so what do I do now? I panic. No, I don't panic. You don't panic? No, you don't panic. It's because it's a quadratic equation, right? It's a quadratic equation. Okay, then there are 4 ways to solve a quadratic equation. So let me make this a little neater here. Okay, so I square both sides and I get this, right? And I bring everything to the same side. When I do that, I get n squared plus n minus 110 equals 0. Okay, this is a x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. We've done lots. First way is to graph them, okay? The second way is to factor them. Okay, that's like doing this. The third way to third way to solve them is by completing the square, right? And the fourth way is the famous quadratic formula. Okay, and the quadratic formula is x equals opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. You have to know this formula. Must know formula. Must know quadratic formula. Like opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay, for 200 extra credit points, this part of the quadratic formula is given a special name. Do you know what that is? Yeah? What is that? That's called the discriminant. Discriminant. Remember that? The discriminant. That's that part. So discriminant b squared minus 4ac is called a discriminant. We talked about that before. If you forgot that, that's okay. Forgetting some small stuff is like that is normal. All right. So there are 4 ways to solve a quadratic equation. Okay. So usually you would either factor or you use the quadratic formula. Okay? Here you could use the quadratic formula, but I think I can factor this. Okay, I'm going to be brave. I'm going to try to factor this out, even though there's like a big number like 110. I could do it. All right, n. What 2 numbers give 110? Well, 11 and 10 will do that. So I'm going to put 11. I'm going to just give it a shot. They have to add or subtract to give 1, right? Do they? Yes, they do. Right? So this sign says the bigger one is this sign says the 2 signs are different. The bigger one is here. positive. So it's going to be positive over here, negative over here. Okay, well, it's not too bad. If you didn't do that, you could just use the quadratic formula, and that would also work. And then you solve this. So it says n, not x, n plus 11 equals 0. Okay, n minus 10 equals 0, or, okay, so you get n equals negative 11 and n equals 10. So here we get two answers, right? I'll tell you, one of them is just not going to work. There's no way I'm going to tell you which one it is too. One of them is just plain redundant answer. That makes no sense. I'm going to tell you it's this one. Doesn't make any sense. Right away. I don't even have to check for it. Okay? I'll tell you that negative 11 doesn't work. Because if you look at the original question, it is this. 110 minus n equals n, right? If you take a square root of anything, right, it will never be a negative number. Square root of anything, because it is never a negative number, because you can't do that. You can't take square root of negative numbers, right? You follow? All right. So so that's why that's not going to work. I know that, but if you didn't know that, that's okay. But in this case, it becomes extremely important for these type of questions, and for all these questions that for really, you should check. You should check your answers. Okay, and I'll try to explain to you why you can predict that one of the answers is not going to work. Also, now let's plug this in over here. Okay, let's check. Let's be good students and check. Okay, so if I put negative 1 over here, okay, get 110 minus 11, right? Minus 11 equals negative 11. Is this true? Let's see. So then you get 110. This becomes plus. That's 121. Okay. Does that equal to negative 11? Well, square root of 121 is 11, because that's a perfect square. Does 11 equal negative 11? Not on this planet. See? So that's not a solution. Okay? And then you go check the other one. Let's put 10 over there. Then you get square root of 110 minus 10. Does that equal to 10? Well, 110 minus 10 is 100. Does square root of 100 equal 10? Square root of 100 is 10, and that does equal 10. So this is the answer. So there is only one answer. So how come is it that you get answers that don't make sense? How come you wouldn't do that? It's because of this, okay? To explain that to you, I'm going to try to explain that to you. And it's like this, okay? I'm going to erase all this until we have only the original equation over here. Okay, now look. I tell you I have a number in my mind, and that number is 5. X is 5, correct? Okay, I'm thinking about a number, and that number is 5. And then I tell you I have a number in my mind, okay? I have a number in my mind, and if I square that number, I get 25. Right? So what number is that, you say? I'm asking you. It's a quiz, okay? I'm thinking about a number, and if I square that number, I get 25. Right? Now look at this. Well, what number do I have? If you said there's two answers to this, you would be right. Because I could have been thinking about 5, or I could have been thinking of a negative 5. Because if you square 5, you get 25, and you square negative 5, you get 25. Right? Do you see this? But now look at this. This equation has two answers. Correct? Two answers. This equation has one answer because x is 5. Do you understand? But now look what happens. Okay? So do you understand how this equation has two answers? But now look what happens if I square this equation. Then I get x squared equals 25. So it becomes an equation with one answer to an equation with two answers. Right? So anytime you square this, see, that's exactly what we did over here. We squared both sides, and we made it take an equation with one answer, and we gave it two answers. Right? So That's why when you're squaring equations, it's like adding variables, because adding variables to the equation. Because here, this equation has 1x. This equation has 2x's, like this. Okay? So when you're squaring, it's like adding more variables, so you have to be very careful. So in cases when you're introducing a power, when you're increasing the degree of the equation, you may introduce a false, fictitious answers. So you always have to check. Okay? So that's one very big lesson. So that's the first question in worksheet number 2. Alright? So, okay, now, how are we doing? Okay. Alright, so I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do number 3, okay? Here, number 3 says 30 minus x equals x. Well, this is almost the same as the other one, right? I square both sides. Now you're getting the idea, right? When I square both sides, you get 30 minus x equals x squared, right? Now I'm going to make sure I better check my answers here, right? Because because it's very possible I get answers that are incorrect. So I bring everything to one side, x squared. If I bring this to one side by adding x here, okay, I get x squared plus x, and then this is 30. And I bring the 30 to the side, x squared plus x minus 30 equals 0. I hope I didn't go too fast. Okay, let me not go too fast because I don't want to confuse you. Alright, so I add x to both sides, like this. I get 30 equals x squared plus x. Then I subtract 30 from both sides. X squared plus x minus 30. Now you have a quadratic equation. You can solve this using those 4 methods previously mentioned, but I'm going to try to factor this. Two numbers that give you 30 and add or subtract to give 5. Here's the factors of 30. 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. Add or subtract to give 1. Nope. No. Add or subtract to give 1. Oh, here it is. So that's going to be 5 and 6. Signs are different. The bigger one is positive, like this. Okay? I'm going to solve. Okay, x minus 5 equals 0, or x plus 6 equals 0. So x is going to equal to 5. X is going to equal to negative 6. Okay, I hope I did that right. Okay, so then I check. Again, you can almost tell that this is not going to work, right? Because you can't take square root of something and get a negative number. So you can check this, and that's not going to work. Okay, you should check it, and then this is going to be the only legitimate answer. Okay, all right, so that's number 3. And now I'm trying to do questions that are slightly different than before. Oh, I want to do this one here. I'm going to do number 14, okay? Number 14 says r is equal to square root of -1 minus 2r. Okay, same principle here. The radical symbol is already isolated. Okay, the radical symbol is already isolated. All right, and I'm going to square both sides. So I get r squared equals -1 minus 2r. I hope I didn't confuse you there. Let's see from here. Okay. And then I bring everything to one side, r squared, and then I bring this to this side, I get plus 2r, and I bring this to this side, I get plus 1 equals 0. Got it? Now I factor. I'm getting good at factoring here. R, 1, 1, whoa, like this. Okay, that's easy. Okay, so and I solve this, but they're both the same. They're going to give the same answer. R equals -1, right? Okay. So while I plug it in, so I plug this in. Doesn't okay? So -1 equals square root of -1 minus 2 times -1, right? I'm checking because I'm being a good boy. So I check. So -1, does this equal square root of -1? This is -2 2 times negative 1 is plus 2. Does negative 1 equal, this is square root of 1. Does negative 1 equal 1 on planet Earth? No, no, no. So, well, what do we have here? That was the only option we had. So that's the only solution we had. Too bad. We're not going to have any solution. So this question has no solution. So you have to always check. Okay? Alright. Now, let's see. Which one should I pick over here? Alright, I'm going to do number 21. Okay? Number 21 says this. 4n plus 8 equals n plus 3. Alright, what do we do now? I don't know. What do you think? Well, I don't know. I'm just going to like square both sides. Okay, let's square both sides. So let's square both sides. Because the radical symbol is already isolated. Okay, so when I square both sides, I get 4n plus 8. Now here I have to square this, see? I have to square this. So this is what? How do we do that? Okay, well, that is this, a plus b squared. Okay, that's a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Okay, and as a reminder, a minus b squared is a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. And the third special case is a plus b times a minus b, and that is a squared minus b squared. You have to know this. Right? You can't get away without not knowing this, right? So just like write this down like 100 times or 500 times. I'm just kidding. Write down 500 times, whatever, how many times it takes for you to know that down cold. And you have to know how to use them too. See, in this case, this is a and this is b. Okay? So this is going to be a squared, n squared, plus 2 times a times b, 2 times n times b, plus b squared, that's 9. Okay, that's how you do this. Now if you didn't know that, okay, n plus 3, if you didn't know that, if you forgot this, that's okay. It's like n plus 3 times n plus 3, right? That's what the n plus 3 squared means. Okay, now then you have to FOIL this, see? First, so then you FOIL it. First, outer, inner, and last. 3 times 3 is 9. And then you simplify. N squared plus 6n plus 9. Here you get the same thing. 4n plus 8 equals n squared plus 6n plus 9. So you get the same answer. Alright? So if you didn't know that, you just FOIL it. But you should really know this. Okay? Alright. Okay, now I'm going to erase some of this because I need some working room. You can't get away from FOIL. You can't get away from factoring. So you might as well invest some time in learning that, right? Because if you're going to do any degree of mathematics, right, you got to just know them. Okay, what do we do now? Panic? No, it's not panic. Stop panic, right? Okay. So bring all the n's together. So subtract 4n from both sides, like this. Okay, that's gone. So 8 equals n squared plus 2n plus 9. Okay, bring the 8 to this side. You're getting the idea. 0 equals n squared plus 2n plus 1. Oh, not bad. Okay, same thing. Let's factor. Okay, so n, factors of 1. Okay, 1, 1. Signs are same, and they're both positive like this. Okay, I solved this. So n plus 1 equals 0, and that's the same thing. So n is going to equal to negative 1. So I get n equals negative 1 answer. Okay, then I substitute double, just checking. If you check this, you get square root of 4 times negative 1 plus 8 equals negative 1 plus 3? Does it equal? We're checking here. Being good students. Okay, that becomes 4 times negative 1 is negative. 4 plus 8 equals, does it equal to 2? This is 4. Square root of 4 equals 2. Does it equal 2? 2. Does 2 equal 2? Last time I checked. Ta-da. So the answer is negative 1. Okay? So that's how you do when you have something like this and you square both sides and then you do the beautiful algebra that you already know. Are you good with this, inshallah? So hopefully you're able to do maybe I'll do one last question, okay? I don't want to belabor you, but I I don't want to be rushing through this. I'm going to do one last question. 25. I'm going to do number 25, okay? So n minus 7, okay, is going to equal to, it says, square root of 3n minus 21. Alright, so while the squared symbol is already isolated, now if the question was like this, n equals square root of 3n minus 21 plus 7, then the square symbol would not be isolated, and the first thing I would do, I would take this to the other side before I square both sides, right? So, but here they're making it easy for us, being nice. So I'm just going to square both sides as it is because the radical symbol is already isolated. Okay. Now, from our previous question, we know that the way to square this is a minus b squared. That's a squared minus 2 times a times b plus b squared. And that is going to be n squared minus 2 times a times b. B here is 7, mind you. It's not negative 7. That's what that means over here. If you didn't know, you would FOIL this. Plus b squared. So that's 49. Okay? And then this is 3n minus 21. Alright? So you get n squared minus 14n plus 49 equals 3n minus 21. Okay. I subtract 3n from both sides. N squared 17n plus 49 equals minus 21. Well, I add 21 to both sides. I do it patiently. And this is 50, 70 equals 0. Now, factor or quadratic formula? I'm going to use factor. Now I don't know about this. I might have used the quadratic formula. Okay. Now, what two numbers give 70 and add or subtract to give 17? Well, that's going to be 10 and 7. Excuse me. So, alright, so that's going to be that. The sign, this says the signs are the same. They're both negative like this, okay? So, and I solve this to get n minus 10 equals 0, and n minus 7 equals 0, and I get n is equal to 10 or n is equal to 7. So ideally, I would just go check both of these, and they will be the answer. Now, let's say if you didn't know factoring, so I'm just going to do the quadratic formula. Okay, let's do the quadratic formula. X equals opposite of b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So let's do this. Opposite of b, we're doing this one. Okay, that's 17. Plus or minus square root of b squared. That's negative 17 squared. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 70, over 2 times a, which is 1. Now, if you do all of this in the calculator, you're going to get those two answers, okay? So you're getting two answers. Well, maybe I should not do that for you. Maybe I should just... Okay, let's do this, okay? 17 plus or minus, okay, what's 17 squared? Okay, that's 280. That's 289. Plus 4 times 8 times c. So that's 4 times c. That's 7 times 4 is 280. Okay, over 2. So that's 17 plus or minus 280. That's 9 over 2. Okay, so that's 17 plus or minus square root of 9 is 3 over 2. So this is plus or minus. It gives you 2 answers, right? So I'm going to change that over here. Okay, so that's 17 plus 3 over 2, and that's 17 minus 3 over 2. That's what the plus or minus means. 17 plus 3 is 20, divided by 2 is 10, and 17 minus 3 is, this is 2, 17 minus 3 is 14, divided by 2 is 7. That's the other answer. So you get the same answers if you do it either way. Okay? So, inshallah, hopefully that helps. And then this is, I would invest some effort in this. It will help you out, inshallah. Do the worksheets and get good at it, inshallah. Until next time, then. Salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum.